discover the incredible moment when a maid's daughter changed everything. 100M reward awaits. Ella sat on the frayed couch in their small living room, pages of notes scattered around her like fallen leaves. Outside, the sun painted the sky with warm hues, drowning the neighborhood in a golden glow while the scent of barbecues wafted through open windows. Her heart raced, pounding against her chest like a drum. This was her moment. She could almost hear her mother, Maria, whispering words of encouragement. The planned proposal could not just change her life, it could transform their entire community. Yet, as determination twisted in her gut, a shadow loomed large. Ella glanced at her sneakers, worn and faded, memories of taunts from her classmates echoing in her mind. What does she know about success? And you think she belongs here? Would play like a haunting melody. The laughter of her affluent peers had always felt like icy water splashed onto her dreams. And now, betrayal struck even deeper. Her friend Claire, her confidant, was spreading rumors that gnawed at her confidence during the most crucial time. "Ella, are you ready for dinner?" Maria's voice broke through, rich with warmth. But as Ella looked at her mother, she saw the weight of sacrifice etched into Maria's tired features. She remembered her mother's stories, how she left everything behind in Mexico, driven by hope and an undeniable desire to secure a brighter future for her daughter. In that moment, the barriers of doubt began to crack apart. "Sit with me for a moment," Maria said, her voice gentle but firm. As they spoke, Ella felt the love wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. Maria shared how hard she'd worked, pouring every ounce of her being in her job, all to give Ella a shot at the American dream. "You're not just my daughter, Ella," she said, her eyes glistening. "You're my legacy. Fight for your dreams. Don't let anyone steal that from you." Fueled by that fire in her heart, Ella threw herself into her proposal. The hours stretched into endless nights filled with coffee-stained pages and tear-smeared sketches. She wove in stories of her upbringing, tales of resilience and community, channeling the turmoil and love around her. Just 2 days left. Her heartbeat quickened, fear and hope dancing a complex waltz within her. The night before the presentation, sleep evaded her. She tossed and turned, memories mixing with swirling doubts. Could she do this? Could she challenge the very perceptions that almost silenced her? Doubts crept in, gnawing fiercely. Claire's smirk invaded her mind, along with the whispers that lost their sense of innocence. Would anyone listen? Tomorrow, standing before a sea of gleaming suits and piercing eyes, all she needed was to channel the love and grit rooted deep within her. The community, rich in its diversity but poor in opportunities, deserved change. She made her choice to stand tall and embrace the light, no matter how dark the shadows seemed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The day arrived, an auditorium buzzing with energy and anticipation. As Ella stepped into the spotlight, every step felt heavier, shadows of doubt clawing at her resolve. Her eyes settled on Claire, a figure radiating confidence, shrouded in the kind of privilege Ella had only dreamed of. Heart pounding, she could almost hear her mother's voice again, a reminder of the countless sacrifices made, of their shared blood and dream. As she opened her mouth to speak, the crowd fell silent. The tremor in her voice echoed deeper than mere nerves. It carried the weight of every hardship faced. This was her time. This was more than a pitch. It was a lifeline. Could she shift what the world thought of her? Was her voice powerful enough to change the narrative? With a deep sigh, she leaned into the anticipation, ready to reveal more than just an innovative idea. She was ready to claim her worth. Would her voice resonate in the hearts of the audience, or would it fade into silence? The room held its breath, and Ella prepared to rewrite the story of her life, and perhaps her community. Ella inhaled deeply, the air thick with excitement and hope. She could feel the weight of the moment hanging in the air like a storm about to break. A sea of faces stared back at her, some curious, others skeptical. But amidst the anxious whirlwind stirring inside her, there was an ember of determination glowing brightly within. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice steadying with each word. "I am here to talk about us, about our community." She felt the words flow through her like a current, weaving her thoughts into a tapestry of struggle and aspiration. Ella spoke of her upbringing, her mother's sacrifices, and the hurdles they defaced. With each passing second, she painted a vivid picture of the diverse lives around her, the laughter that rang from the children's playground, and the dreams that hung like clouds, heavy but waiting to burst. The room began to lean in, drawn not just by her words, but by the sincerity of her emotion. Then she spoke of the project, an initiative to create job opportunities, mentorship programs, and scholarships for underprivileged kids in their community. "We can change the narrative," she asserted, her heart swelling with conviction. "Because change starts at home. It starts with us." She saw Claire's eyes narrow, but this time, the familiar sense of doubt no longer wrapped around her bones like chains. She finished with a passionate plea. "I want to spark hope, to show that where we come from doesn't determine where we go. This isn't just my dream, it belongs to everyone." The moment her presentation ended, the silence transformed into a long, drawn-out suspense. Then, one by one, applause began to ripple through the auditorium. It encouraged Ella, buoying her spirits even higher. She glanced around, wide-eyed faces turned into smiles of acknowledgement, nods of encouragement in response to her vision. Did they believe her? Yet, looking beyond the audience, her eyes locked onto Claire. There was no applause, no smile, just a frown etched deep into her features. For a fleeting moment, doubt crept back, but she banished it, reminding herself of every late night, every tear, and every hope her mother had entrusted to her. This was her moment, and it shone brighter than the judgments of others. A panel of judges rose, ready to deliberate. Ella's palms grew clammy as they huddled in hushed conversation. What were they thinking? Were they impressed or merely humoring her? After what felt like an eternity, their spokesperson stepped forward. "Thank you, Ella, for your passionate proposal. We've seen a lot of ideas, but yours stands out for its clarity and heart." The tension in her chest softened. No, it melted away. The unexpected warmth spread through her, easing her fears. "And we have a decision to announce. We'll offer you the grant you asked for, but there's one catch." Ella's heart dropped. "A catch? What was it?" "You'll need to show us how you will implement this plan. It's no longer just a proposal. It will become a reality if you can rally support behind you. Are you ready for that challenge?" The buzz from a crowd surged, a wave of excitement mixed with apprehension. Ella stood frozen, a swirl of emotions racing through her. Was she ready? The thoughts of her mother's sacrifices and the dreams of her community ignited her resolve once more. "I am," she said, the words tumbling out with newfound strength. But deep inside her, a shadow flickered. Was she truly prepared for the trials ahead? As she exited the stage, adrenaline coursing through her veins, she was greeted by her mother's radiant smile, tears dancing in Maria's eyes. Yet, the weight of Claire's lingering gaze gnawed at her. Ella's heart raced again, but not just from joy. What would Claire do next? What would be the cost of her dream? The shadows seemed to close in again, but she had committed to a path of hope. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a deeper journey that would not only test her resilience, but also redefine her relationship with the people she once held dear. What awaited her in this new chapter? Ella stepped into the bustling corridor, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The applause still echoed in her ears, but the uncertainty that came from facing Claire settled heavily in her chest. Her mother's look of pride was a warm light amidst the shadows, but Claire's disapproval was a nagging doubt souring the edge of her victory. Ella, a voice pulled her from her anxiety. It was Malik, one of her closest friends, rushing toward her with a wide grin. You did it. I knew you would. His enthusiasm wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. Thanks, Malik. But it's not over yet. I have to get the community behind this. Of course you will. They love you. They believe in you. Just look at the way they reacted, he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. What's next? Ella felt a tremor of fear at the question. I have to organize meetings, get people on board, show the judges that I can actually make this happen. Her voice trailed off, the enormity of the task now hitting her. Malik studied her for a moment. You'll need help. You can't do this alone. Look for allies within the community, people who share your vision. She nodded, the idea taking root. Building a coalition would be essential. I'll call a meeting at the community center tomorrow. Get everyone involved. As she walked through the throng of people, onlookers still buzzing about the presentation, she noticed Claire standing off to the side, arms crossed, her frown deepening as her eyes followed Ella. The tension between them felt palpable. Ella couldn't help but wonder what Claire's presence meant for her dream. Was she just waiting for a chance to tear it down? Ella. The voice was sharp this time. Claire approached, her jaw set and eyes narrowed. I need to talk to you. Now. Ella's heart raced again, a mix of dread and curiosity swirling inside. She glanced at Malik, who was watching her intently, then back at Claire, who seemed impatient. Okay, she said, her voice low but steady. They stepped outside to a quieter area, the sounds of the crowd fading into the background. Look, I don't want to undermine your passion, Claire began, her tone stiff yet cautious. But you need to realize that not everyone will back your ideas. Some of us know how tough it is to bring change. Ella felt her pulse quicken. I know it won't be easy, but I believe in our community. I believe in what we can achieve together. You say that now, Claire sighed, but her eyes softened fractionally. But when it gets hard, when people start turning on each other, will you still believe? Ella opened her mouth to respond, but the words stuck. She could feel the weight of Claire's warning, but she couldn't let fear dictate her mission. I have to try, Claire. For my mom, for everyone who believes in this, she said firmly. This means too much to me. Claire stepped back slightly, her defenses faltering. Just be careful. Not everyone will have the same heart as you. As she walked away, Ella's heart felt torn. What was it about Claire's words that struck so deep? Was she afraid of failure, or perhaps of losing Claire as a friend in the process? That night, under the soft glow of her bedroom lamp, Ella sat with her laptop open, ready to draft plans for her community meeting. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She thought of her mother's dreams, the hope in her eyes. She was determined to make a difference, but the shadows of doubt lingered like an unwelcome guest. Was Claire's skepticism valid, or just fear-driven? And as Ella began to type out her vision, new questions formed in her mind. Who would really stand with her? Who would falter? At that moment, the weight of possibilities felt heavy, but her pulse quickened with the thrill of potential. The next day would be pivotal, but what would happen when the truth about her plan surfaced? Would her community rally around her, or would they fracture under the pressure of uncertain change? Ella woke up the next morning with her heart racing. Today was the day, the first step toward turning her dreams into reality. She glanced at the clock. Time was ticking, and she had a lot to prepare before the meeting at the community center. As she got ready, she poured every ounce of determination into her routine, imagining the faces of her friends and neighbors who believed in her vision. The community center was buzzing with activity, and Ella felt the butterflies in her stomach start to flutter more vigorously as she approached. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of all the encouraging words Malik had shared. It was time to find that inner strength and project it outward. She pushed open the double doors and stepped into the main hall, where makeshift tables were set up, each one draped in vibrant tablecloths. Photos of the community, along with notes detailing her project, covered the walls. As the attendees trickled in, Ella's nervousness settled into a calm resolve. Ella, Malik called, waving enthusiastically as he made his way toward her. "Looks great. You've really put in the work. I just hope they can see it like we do," she replied, trying to shake off the anxiety creeping in again as people began filling seats. Ella noticed Claire, standing in the back, arms still crossed, but with less hostility this time. The mixture of emotions she felt started to bubble up again. "Good evening, everyone." Ella's voice rang out, wavering slightly but growing stronger as she continued. "Thank you for coming. I'm excited to share my vision of what we can achieve together." The crowd was attentive. They leaned in, faces lit with curiosity and anticipation. Ella could see her mother in the front row, smiling and nodding encouragingly. "Today, I want to discuss ways we can transform our community. Together, we can create opportunities for everyone, develop new resources, and make a real change," she said, her pulse steadying with each word. Ella spoke passionately, her ideas flowing naturally as she highlighted how their contributions could shape a brighter future. She watched faces shift, mouths curve into hopeful smiles, and even caught a few whispers of agreement among the crowd. But as she made her final point, a hand shot up from the back. It was Claire. Ella's heart dropped. Was this it? Was Claire about to publicly challenge her? "Ella," Claire began, her tone calmer than before, though a hint of skepticism hung in the air. "This all sounds wonderful, but how do you plan to fund these changes? Ideas are great, but without money..." Ella felt a pang of uncertainty like a sharp sting. She had anticipated the question, but hoped it wouldn't come up. I've been thinking about fundraising efforts, local business contributions, and seeking grants. It's going to take a lot of work and collaboration. We can do this together." Claire nodded, but Ella could see a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "A lot of work," she repeated softly, eyebrows raised. "You realize that means risking a lot, too?" The room fell silent. Ella felt everyone's gaze on her, waiting for a response. She suddenly realized this wasn't just about her vision. It was about proving to everyone, including herself, that they could do it. Together. "I understand the risks," she finally said, her voice stronger than it had felt. "But if we don't try, we'll miss our chance to change things for the better. We can't let fear hold us back." The weight in the room shifted. People exchanged looks, nodding along to Ella's words, but she could still sense Claire's lingering doubt. As the meeting continued, Ella saw hope igniting in some eyes, but insecurity still flickered in others. Who would ultimately join her? Would Claire stand beside her, or would she be a barrier instead? As the crowd began discussing logistics and ideas, Ella felt a surge of energy. It felt right being here, fighting for something bigger than herself. But looming questions remained. Would they embrace this change or resist it when it became too hard? After the meeting, as people began to leave, Ella stood at the door. She was proud, but the uncertainty lingered like a thick fog. Just then, Claire approached. "Looks like you have some support," she said, but her eyes held a depth of concern. "Do you think anyone will falter?" Ella asked tentatively. Claire met her gaze squarely, her expression unreadable. "Maybe, but what we need now is for you to be ready for whatever comes next." Ella's heart raced at the challenge in those words. What would whatever comes next be? As the last of the crowd filtered out, her resolve deepened. Change was coming, but at what cost? Ella stood at the entrance of the community center long after the last chair had been pushed aside. The energy in the room had shifted. It was palpable, thick with a blend of hope and uncertainty. She could still hear the echoes of conversation, ideas bouncing around, excitement like static in the air. But lingering doubts weighed heavy in her mind, especially Claire's probing question. What comes next? Ella whispered to herself. She wrapped her arms around her waist as if to keep the doubts from spilling out. There was so much more to do, and every step forward felt riddled with risks she hadn't fully prepared for. Malik's cheerful voice cut through the lingering tension. He was back again, a beaming smile lighting up the remnants of the dimming hall. "You did it." The way they responded, it was incredible. "Maybe," she replied, her voice trailing off. "But it's just the beginning, Malik." Her heart sank a little. What if they don't stick around when things get tough? Malik shook his head, leaning casually against the doorframe. You've given them something to believe in. That's the first step. Sometimes it's not about having all the answers right from the start. It's about having a spark. Ella looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. Do you really think that? I know it. He stepped closer. You inspired them. Even Claire. She asked, just scared of the unknown. Just then, Claire emerged from the shadows, standing on the threshold. I'm not scared, she said defiantly, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. I just want to make sure we don't run before we can walk. That is a good point, Ella said, threading her fingers together. But if we don't take risks, then what is the point? We'll always be stuck where we are. Claire crossed her arms, then uncrossed them, as if debating whether to let down her guard. You have such passion, Ella. I can't deny that. But I worry, what if people don't show up for the meetings? What if they don't donate? They're bound to be pushed back. Ella sighed, glancing around the empty hall. A part of her resonated with Claire's fears. Yeah, there might be, but if we don't try, we'll never know what we can achieve. If we can rally even a handful of people behind this, we can do something together, Malik added, his voice bright and full of hope. That is easier to say, Claire replied, her brow furrowing. But what if they leave us or lose interest? It's a risk you're choosing to take on everyone's behalf. Some risks are worth taking, Ella affirmed. She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of both Claire's skepticism and Malik's faith. I want our community to be more than just a hard place to live. I want it to be a place where we thrive together. That matters to me. Claire's expression softened a tiny bit. Okay, let us see where this goes then, she said reluctantly. But I need to know what this looks like day to day, or else I can't commit. Deal, Ella said, feeling a spark rekindle. Let us start small. You can help me lay out a plan. Together. As they discussed the next steps, Ella felt the tension beginning to ease. They were still standing on a precipice, but for the first time, it felt like they might take the leap together. Just before departing the community center, Ella turned to face her friends anew, her heart swelling with determination. Tomorrow, we start reaching out to local businesses, gather ideas, create a calendar of events, and form committees. It's time to take action. Malik clapped his hands in excitement. Now, that's the spirit. But just as Ella felt her confidence surge, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Glancing at the screen, she saw a message from an unknown number. Meet me tomorrow at the old train station. I have a proposal that could change everything. Her heart hammered in her chest. Questions tumbled through her mind. Could this be the breakthrough she needed? Or was it another distraction? One thing was clear, this was just the beginning. And whatever this mysterious proposal was, it was about to lead her down an unexpected path. What was waiting for her at the station, and how would it change everything she had fought for? The sunlight streamed into Ella's kitchen as she fumbled with her coffee maker, her mind racing. She couldn't shake off the weight of that cryptic message. The old train station? Just that morning, it felt like a relic of lost dreams. But for someone to reach out to her now was a puzzle. Was it tied to her community efforts, or was something else entirely? The aroma of brewing coffee filled the air, but Ella wasn't tasting it. She poured herself a cup, taking a small sip, feeling the warm liquid wrap around her. Outside, the world felt alive, bustling with people heading somewhere toward their jobs, their dreams, or simply their daily routines. Ella wanted that kind of certainty that a quick shower helped wash the tension away, even if just a bit. She dressed in jeans and a comfortable shirt, her thoughts constantly drifting back to the station. What if this proposal was the boost her community needed? What if it was a scam? Before she even had time to swallow her last bite of toast, her phone buzzed again. This time it was Claire. Hey, looking forward to the meeting. Have you thought more about potential business owners to reach out to? The text felt like an anchor to reality. Ella quickly began typing. Yes. I want to connect with the local bakery and the hardware store owner. They've always seemed interested in community events. Let us make a list when we meet. The reply came swiftly. Great. I think we can inspire them. Ella smiled. Claire might be cautious, but she was beginning to see the vision. The trip to the old train station would be framed within her bigger picture, a way to gather resources for everyone's benefit. She stepped out the door and locked it behind her, heart still fluttering with excitement and nerves about the upcoming meeting. As she made her way to the station, she could feel a blend of emotions, anticipation mixed with trepidation. The train station loomed ahead, shrouded in history and mystery. The blue paint chipped and faded, still reflected stories of a time when trains brought in more than just people. They carried hopes and dreams. The sudden gust of wind whipped through her, and she pulled her jacket closer. The feelings in her chest collided, an unsettling whirl of dread and excitement. She spotted a silhouette near the ticket counter, someone waiting. Cautiously, she approached. As she got closer, she recognized the face of a familiar figure, Marcos, a local contractor known for his community work. He turned and smiled warmly, and her heart raced. "Ella, I'm glad you came," he said, his voice welcoming but edged with urgency. "I've seen the start you've made with the community center, and it's time we take it further. I have a proposition that could absolutely change things for all of us." She felt the weight of his words, a tidal shift in her aspirations. "What do you mean, Marcos? What do you have in mind?" Marcos stepped forward, glancing around as if he wanted to keep their conversation private. "I've heard about a funding opportunity, and it could lead us to a huge renovation project for the center, something we've always dreamed of." Ella's mind whirled as possibilities cascaded through her. Could this be it? Was this what she had been waiting for? But there's a catch, he continued, hesitating just long enough to build the suspense. "We need to gather community support, and there's a timeline. We must act fast if we're going to make this happen." The weight of the moment sank in. All this time, she'd thought this journey would be slow, but now the chance was racing towards her like a freight train. Her heart thumped wildly. What did this mean for her plans with Malik and Claire? Would they stand together in this new wave? "Together, we could create something monumental," Marcos urged. "Are you in?" Ella took a deep breath, feeling excitement ignite within her. This was the moment that could resonate throughout her community. But would they be ready for this level of commitment? She could already feel Claire's hesitations looming over her. Ella looked deep into Marcos's eyes, sensing her own determination. Rising, "Let us do this." As they turned away from the station and stepped into the light of possibility, Ella's heart was set alight with renewed hope. She thought of her friends and all those waiting for change. Could they rise to this challenge together? Tomorrow would bring the meeting to lay the foundation, and she could practically hear the clock ticking down. Would her friends stand by her when the pressure mounted? And what if this was the very proposal that would either transform her community or pit her against those she aimed to uplift? Ella felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety churn inside her as she walked alongside Marcos. The air was thick with possibility, and as they made their way out of the station, each step echoed in the silent promise of change. What if this really was the moment they've been waiting for? "Have you thought about how you're going to present this to the community?" Marcos asked, his brow knitted with concern. "Honestly," Ella hesitated, "I'm not entirely sure. People can be skeptical, especially when it comes to change. We need a plan." Marcos nodded, his eyes bright with ambition. "We'll need to hold a town meeting. Gather everyone and lay out the vision clearly. Show them what this renovation could mean for their lives." Right? Ella's mind raced ahead. If we can paint a picture of a new center, maybe everyone will see the value in it. Maybe they'll feel it's worth their time and effort to support us. As they walked, they passed familiar storefronts. The bakery and hardware store that she wanted to reach out to popped into view, and Ella felt the tug of a stirring community beneath her feet. "I could talk to them today," she said suddenly. "If this is urgent, maybe I can rally support even before the meeting." Marcos agreed enthusiastically. "Yes, the sooner we get people involved, the better. And if we can show them that others believe in this idea, it might just make the difference." They reached the bakery first. The delightful aroma of freshly baked bread hit her like a warm embrace. Ella took a steadying breath and pushed open the door. The charming bell jingled above, announcing their arrival. "Ella, good to see you." Mrs. Henderson, the baker, called out from behind the counter, flour dusting her apron. "Hi, Mrs. Henderson. I hope you're doing well." Ella smiled, feeling the comfort of a familiar face. Marco stepped forward, introduction spilling off his tongue. We actually wanted to talk to you about something exciting that's happening in the community center. Would you like to hear about it? Mrs. Henderson leaned in, interest sparkling in her eyes. I'm always keen to support the community. What's going on? Ella shared the vision how the renovation could transform the center into a hub for events, a place that could spark connection and growth. As each word left her mouth, she watched Mrs. Henderson's expression shift from curiosity to enthusiasm. Oh, Ella, this sounds incredible. We need something like this. Her hands clasped together, eyes shining with hope. Count me in. With each passing moment, Ella's confidence grew. If Mrs. Henderson was on board, perhaps others would follow. They moved on to the hardware store, where Mr. Vitali was busy organizing supplies. His expression turned from initial puzzlement to surprise as they shared their vision. By the end, they secured tentative promises from both business owners to support the meeting, Mrs. Henderson even offering to provide baked goods for it. As they stepped outside, the sun was high above them, illuminating the path ahead. Ella felt lighter, every step filled with purpose. Excitement swelled within her. This could finally be what her community needed. I think we're onto something, she said, happiness blooming in her chest. Marcos chuckled, a hearty sound that made her heart race even faster. There's no stopping us now, Ella. But we still have a big mountain to climb. What we do about the funding timeline? Her stomach nodded slightly at the words. Reality sank back in. Funding didn't wait for dreams to catch up, but she wouldn't let fear reign. Everything felt too right, too close. And there were still discussions to have, ideas to gather all essential pieces of their puzzle. Let us focus on what we can do now, she said firmly, determination overriding her worries. We'll structure our message for the meeting. We need facts, a vision, and a community that believes in it. Marcos nodded, and they began walking again, the afternoon breeze trailing behind them like an enthusiastic friend. Ella's thoughts raced ahead. What would it take to convince the whole town? Would they pull together or fragment under pressure? And most importantly, would this be the moment that sparked everything she envisioned? As they paused at a corner, a new thought struck her. Marcos, what if the mayor could help us? He might have insights into the funding, great idea. But do you think he'll meet willingly? Only one way to find out, she replied, feeling the excitement coil in her stomach again. Ella glanced over her shoulder, stealing a moment to gather her thoughts before the next steps. What are they really willing to risk to change everything? Ella's heart raced at the thought of reaching out to the mayor. It was an audacious step, but one that felt necessary. Let us swing by the town hall after this, she suggested, a spark of determination igniting in her voice. Marcos looked surprised, then intrigued. You really think we can just walk in there and ask? What if he's busy? Then we see if he's free for a quick chat. We've got something important to discuss, she replied, her voice steadying. Somehow, the idea of approaching the mayor added weight to their initiative, transforming it from a grassroots effort to something bigger and more urgent. The thought of all that lay ahead filled her with both unease and excitement. Everything they had just accomplished that day with Mrs. Henderson and Mr. Vitali seemed insignificant compared to what might be at stake. As they made their way through the bright afternoon streets, Ella's mind began racing through a montage of possibilities how the town could look, the bustling community center, laughter and joy spilling from its doors. They strolled past the town square, noticing a few familiar faces. Greg from the diner waved at them, a smile spreading wide across his face. Hey there, you two look like you've been up to something. What's the news? Ella glanced at Marcos, and they shared a knowing look. We have big plans. We're working on revitalizing the old community center, she called out, her voice carrying excitement. Really? That sounds great. Greg nodded. Let me know how I can help. Ella felt a warm wave of support, and with it came a fresh surge of hope. Word was spreading already, and she hadn't even asked for it yet. It felt amazing to see that spark ignite in just a few conversations. If they could keep this momentum, anything felt possible. See? This is what we need, she told Marcos, grinning at him. If we get more people involved, they'll push others along with us. I really believe we can do this. As they approached the town hall, a familiar stone building that always felt a bit imposing, Ella's stomach twisted knot after knot. I've never actually talked to the mayor. What if he's not interested? What if we get shot down? Then we regroup, Marcos said, his encouraging smile unfaltering. But we owe it to ourselves to try, right? He was right. Taking a deep breath, Ella squared her shoulders and nodded. Let us do it. Entering the town hall felt like stepping into an entirely different world. The lobby was busy, with townsfolk milling about, each one preoccupied with their own agendas. Ella spotted the mayor's office down the hall, its door slightly ajar, and gathered her courage. Before she could second-guess herself, she guided Marcos through the sea of people and tapped gently on the doorframe. Mayor Thompson? She called out, attempting to keep her voice steady. The mayor looked up, a pair of glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. With graying hair and a warm smile, he invited them in with a wave. Ella, Marcos, what brings you both here today? Ella's heart raced, the gravity of the moment settling on her shoulders. We wanted to share an idea we have for the community center. We believe it could really benefit the entire town, and we'd love to get your insight on some funding options, if you have a moment. She felt her breath catch, the words tumbling out faster than she'd anticipated. She scanned his expression for any signs of interest or red flags. The mayor leaned back in his chair, propping his elbows on the desk, folding his hands in thought. I'm all ears. Go ahead. In that moment, all the worries and fears threaded through Ella's mind faded to the background. This was her chance. Something inside her surged as she began to articulate her vision, every word dripping with passion and sincerity. But what if he asked them tough questions? What if he was doubtful? What if the thoughts battled, but she pressed on, driven by hope for a brighter future? If only he could see what they she detailed their dreams of revitalization. She caught sight of a flicker in the mayor's eyes. Was that interest? Or something more? Just as she felt she was gaining traction, the office door swung wide open, unannounced. A tall figure strode in, interrupting their moment. Ella's pulse quickened, uncertainty flooding back. She recognized him immediately, the well-known businessman in town, and someone whose reputation was a double-edged sword. Would he soar through her ideas like a hurricane or help to elevate them? Sorry to interrupt, Mayor, but I need to speak with you what kind of stakes are about to unfold. Would this be a setback or an unexpected turn in their journey? Ella felt the blood drain from her face as the tension crackled in the room. The businessman stood there, all sharp angles and an air of authority that radiated around him. She had seen him at fundraisers, shaking hands, always wielding power and influence in the town. His presence was intimidating, and the moment hung thick with suspense. Please, go ahead, Mayor Thompson said, his voice warm but his eyes darting between them. The businessman peered at Ella, a mixture of curiosity and challenge in his gaze. I hope this won't take long. I have urgent matters to discuss. Ella fought against the urge to shrink into herself. She glanced at Marcos, who offered a supportive nod. They had come too far to let someone overshadow their determination. Actually, sir, Ella began, her voice steadier than she felt, we were hoping to share an idea about revitalizing the community center. We believe with some support, it could become a hub for the entire town. She felt a rush, clinging to the purpose behind their mission. The businessman raised an eyebrow, perhaps surprised that a couple of young dreamers thought they could initiate something significant. A community center? Huh? Don't you think the town has bigger fish to fry? With everything going on property developments, you name it, who cares about an old building? Ella's heart sank, but she quickly retorted, we care. People are looking for places to connect, learn, and grow. The community center could be the heart of those efforts. Marcos jumped in, You've spoken to families around town. Everyone wants this. A safe space for kids, programs for seniors, community events, it's what we need. That's sweet. The businessman smirked, dismissively crossing his arms. But nostalgia won't pay for the repairs. Funds are limited, and frankly, I have bigger investments to consider. Ella felt the heat rise in her cheeks. She was about to argue further when the mayor intervened. Now hold on. There's potential here. Ella, Marcos, why don't you tell me more about your vision? Let us not dismiss it just yet. He turned to the businessman and added, we can't underestimate the power of community support. People want to feel connected, especially now. A community center can foster that. Ella, heart pounding, suddenly felt emboldened by the mayor's defense. This was her moment. We're not just dreaming. We have ideas for funding through local businesses, grants, and even crowdfunding. We want to include everyone. If we can rally support, we might surprise you. The businessman studied her intently, as if weighing his next words carefully. His dismissal flickered for a moment, just enough for Ella to notice. And how do you propose you'll keep it running once it's built? Volunteers can't sustain an operation for long. By working together, Ella replied firmly. Setting up programs that charge a small fee will attract funding while also empowering residents to engage. We will involve local organizations, schools, everyone. It's about community ownership. Community ownership, he echoed, as if testing the sound of it. Interesting, but that still sounds precarious. Every great initiative starts from a leap of faith. The mayor chimed in, capturing the businessman's attention once again. Let us allow these kids to explore their ideas fully before we write them off. Ella felt the hope ignite again, but it flickered with uncertainty. Would the businessman actually back down, or was this merely a formality? The tension loomed heavily, and she could see a storm brewing over their discussion. Well, I'll give you this, the businessman said, a reluctant tone creeping into his voice. I'm intrigued enough to listen, but I'm not making any promises. There are risks, you know. ISNT, that what community is all about. Ella challenged lightly, a spark back in her eyes. Taking risks for something greater? Touché, he said, holding her gaze a moment longer. Then let us talk specifics. As Ella began to outline their plan, hope surged through her, even as doubt lingered in the corners. What if this unexpected interruption turned out to be an unanticipated ally? Or would it lead to the downfall of everything they dreamed for the community? With thoughts racing, she pressed on, eager to turn this moment into an opportunity. There was so much to fight for, and she wasn't about to let it slip away, no matter how daunting the journey became. But as they started to discuss the details, a nagging question remained. Could they really bring the town together, or would it all fall apart like flickering lights? The air was electric as Ella stood beside Marcos, the weight of the moment settling once again as the businessman leaned in with intrigue. Let us talk specifics, he said, his tone much less dismissive than before. Ella felt a rush of adrenaline. This was the chance they needed, the doorway to transform her hopes into tangible reality. We envision a center that serves everyone workshops, after-school programs, job training. We want to reconnect our community, give people a reason to come together. Marcos quickly added, and we can generate revenue. With local businesses' support for events, we could balance costs while strengthening our relationships. The businessman nodded slowly, a flicker of interest in his eyes. Okay, but what about the initial investment? The repairs? Who eats that cost? Ella felt her heart pounding, but pressed forward. We'll organize fundraisers, apply for grants, and set up partnerships with local organizations. There's so much we can do. If we can show community support, that's half the battle. And that's where I come in, the mayor chimed in. We'll need to craft a clear proposal outlining potential revenue sources, community backing, and long-term sustainability. I can help connect you with the right people for funding opportunities. Ella's mind raced as she processed everything, mapping out possibilities. Absolutely. If we can get people excited and involved, we'll show that the community is behind this, and that will make it easier to secure funding. The businessman raised an eyebrow at her enthusiasm, still skeptical, but visibly intrigued. You really think this is what people want? Yes, Ella said passionately, looking around the room at each determined face. The community center can be a beacon of hope, a safe place where everyone can come together, where dreams can grow. He scrutinized her as if hoping to catch a crack in her conviction. All right, let us see a detailed plan, a realistic one, before I share my resources. I want to know you can back this up with solid figures. Ella nodded, heart racing with the challenge. We'll deliver it." Her voice was fierce, determination coursing through her. "Because this matters to all of us." "But how long do you think this will take?" The businessman pressed, his skepticism still lingering. "Time is on our side," Ella replied, tone unwavering. "But we need to start now. If we wait, opportunities will slip away, just like they always do. We have to risk it for greatness." The businessman finally smirked slightly. "You've got guts, kid. Just remember, if you fail, it's not just your reputation on the line, but the community as well." "I know," she admitted, feeling the full weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. "That's why we'll build this together. I refuse to let anyone down." As their discussion wrapped, the businessman exited with a final nod, the tension in the room lifting like a weight off Ella's chest. The mayor smiled at her, approval shining through. "You did very well." Marcos grinned, pride beaming from his face. "That was incredible. You really stood your ground." "But now the real work begins," Ella replied. "We need a solid plan, and we have to rally the community even more." She glanced outside, where the sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the town. "We need to bring everyone together, friends, families, even those who doubted." They gathered their thoughts, and Ella shot her friends a determined glance. "Tomorrow, we expand our outreach. We'll talk to more businesses, organize that meeting at the community center, and show them how vital this project is." Excitement bubbled within her as they listed potential contacts and ideas. By the time they stepped out of the town hall, the weight of the world felt lighter, less daunting than moments before. They all understood the stakes. They couldn't let fear of failure limit their vision. The following days spilled into one another like watercolors, a vibrant display of hope as Ella and her team worked tirelessly. They reached out to schools, churches, and local organizations, gathering names of supportive businesses. Mrs. Henderson from the bakery and Mr. Vitale from the hardware store acted as pillars of support, sharing Ella's vision wherever they went. Ella could see the excitement in the community building like steam rising in a kettle, ready to boil over. And on the eve of the big meeting, the old community center hummed with anticipation. The newly painted walls showcased colorful posters of their initiatives, and chairs were set out in neat rows, a space transformed by belief and love. That night, Ella sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by messy notes. Malik and Marcos joined her, sharing in the nervous energy vibrating around them. "Tomorrow is the day," Malik said, his enthusiasm contagious. "You were born to do this, Ella. You're going to inspire them." The truth hung in the air, palpable and shimmering with possibility. But Ella felt a flicker of doubt, a whisper echoing Claire's words from so long ago. What if they didn't come? What if people faltered? It was a chance she had to take. With her heart full of hope, she pored over her speech again, echoing the stories that had brought them here. Resilience, courage, community. They weathered the storm together, and tomorrow they would march to the next chapter, hand in hand. As the sun rose the next morning, she knew it was time. This was the moment that could change everything. Walking into that meeting, her heart full, she was ready to be the voice of her community, ready to inspire a future where dreams turned into reality. And when she stepped into the hall, filled with familiar faces and new supporters, every drop of fear evaporated. Ella stood tall, embracing her truth. This wasn't just her dream, it belonged to everyone. There was nothing left to stop her now. This was their moment, and she will make sure they seized it now. Before we part, I need you to act right away. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. I want to hear from every single one of you, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping this community thriving.